The biggest superstars in football didn't just win trophies. They passed the game down to their own sons. From Cristiano Ronaldo to a Ballon d'Or winner who became a president, these are the legends and the boys carrying their names. And the final bloodline is the greatest in football history, so stay until the end. Cristiano Ronaldo and Cristiano Jr. 5 Ballon d'Ors, over 1 billion followers, the most famous athlete alive. But the pressure on his son might be even greater. The boy already plays for Portugal's youth teams, wears the same number 7, and copies his father's exact celebration. The world is watching to see if lightning can strike twice. David Beckham and Romeo Beckham. Beckham was more than a footballer. He was a global fashion icon whose free kicks are still legendary. His son Romeo tried to follow him onto the pitch, even playing in England's youth system. But in the end, he chose his father's other world, fashion, and today walks the runway as a model. Erling Haaland and his father, Alf Inge. Today, Erling is the deadliest goal scorer on the planet, breaking records almost every week. But few fans know his dad was a Premier League player too. Famously the victim of one of football's nastiest tackles, a brutal challenge from Roy Keane that's still talked about today. Wayne Rooney and Kai Rooney. Rooney is England's all-time leading scorer, a teenage prodigy who became a Manchester United legend. Now history is repeating itself. His son Kai is coming through the youth ranks, wears his father's famous number 10, and scores goals just like his dad once did. But the next legends get even bigger. Zinedine Zidane and his 4 sons. The World Cup winner, the Champions League hero, the most elegant player of his era. And remarkably, all 4 of his boys became footballers. Luca became a goalkeeper, while Enzo, Theo, and Elias all followed their father into midfield. 4 sons, 1 legendary name, and the weight of carrying it. Imagine that pressure. Diego Simeone and his sons Giovanni, Giuliano, and Gianluca. Diego was one of the most fearless midfielders Argentina ever produced, a warrior at Atletico, Lazio, and Inter, with over 100 caps for his country. Today, he's the most successful manager in Atlético Madrid's modern history, and here's what makes this family unique. He raised not 1, but 3 professional footballers. Giovanni became a goal-scoring striker in Italy. The youngest, Gianluca, hung up his boots in 2025 at just 27 and went into football a different way, as an agent, now representing his own brothers. But it's Giuliano who lives the strangest story of all. He plays for Atlético Madrid, the club his own father coaches. On the pitch, he isn't allowed to call him Dad, he has to call him Mister. And together, the two became the first father and son in Argentine history to both score for the national team. Didier Drogba and Isaac Drogba, Chelsea's greatest ever striker. A man whose voice once helped silence the guns in his home country, pleading with a divided Ivory Coast to lay down their weapons. His son Isaac walked onto the pitch carrying not just a famous name, but a national legend. Few inheritances are heavier than that. Frank Lampard and Frank Lampard Sr. Few midfielders in English history have ever scored like him, racking up more goals from midfield than almost anyone the game has seen. But that talent wasn't a gift. His father, a West Ham legend, drilled him for hours in the back garden, pushing him long after every other kid had quit for the day. Lampard didn't inherit greatness. He was trained into it. And these next sons didn't just inherit the name, they almost matched the legend. Peter Schmeichel and Kasper Schmeichel. Peter was the towering goalkeeper who won the treble with Manchester United and lifted the Euros with Denmark. Then his son did the unthinkable. Kasper kept goal as Leicester pulled off the greatest fairy tale in Premier League history and wore the Denmark gloves too. A father and son who both won the English League between the posts. Almost nobody has done that. Patrick Kluivert was once the Ajax wonder kid who shocked Europe. At just 18, he scored the winning goal in a Champions League final and became a legend in one night. Years later, the story continues through his sons. Justin has already made his name across Europe, while Shane is chasing the same dream right behind him. Different generations, same bloodline, one mission: to keep the Kluivert name connected with goals. Francesco Totti and Christian Totti. In Rome, Totti isn't just a football player. He is a symbol of the city. One club, one city, an entire career spent turning down bigger teams out of pure loyalty. His son Christian tried to follow him, grinding through Roma's academy and lower league clubs in Italy and Spain, but the shadow proved too heavy. In 2025, at just 19, Christian retired from football altogether and now works scouting young talent at the very academy his father built. But wait until you see the real football royalty coming up: Gianluigi Buffon and Louis Thomas Buffon. Buffon is, for many, the greatest goalkeeper who ever lived, a World Cup winner and Juventus legend, and a man whose professional career lasted almost 3 decades. So of course everyone expected his son to follow the same path, to stand between the posts, to become a goalkeeper. But Louis Thomas went in the completely opposite direction. He became a forward. Instead of stopping goals, he decided to score them. Federico Chiesa and Enrico Chiesa. When Italy won the Euros in 2021, Federico Chiesa became one of the stars of the tournament. Fast, fearless and impossible to ignore. But that attacking instinct was already in the blood. His father, Enrico Chiesa, was a sharp and intelligent striker for Italy in the 90s. Two generations, the same national shirt, the same hunger for goals, and together they became the first father and son to both score at a European championship. Samuel Eto'o and Etienne Eto'o. Samuel Eto'o was one of the deadliest strikers Africa has ever produced, a Barcelona treble winner, a Champions League legend, and one of the greatest players in the history of African football. His son Etienne grew up with that name on his back, and instead of running away from the pressure, he chose the same path, goals. Born in Spain, he still chose Cameroon, the country of his father. Jurgen Klinsmann and Jonathan Klinsmann. Jurgen Klinsmann was a World Cup winner, one of the most feared strikers in Europe. But his son surprised everyone in two ways. First, he did not become a striker, he became a goalkeeper. And second, he did not choose Germany, he chose the United States. Same family, completely different story. Now we enter the biggest names in football history, Diego Maradona and Diego Jr. Maradona was not just a footballer, he was magic. The man who carried Argentina to World Cup glory and became, for many, the greatest player of all time. But behind the genius, there was also pain. A family drama that lasted for decades. A son in Italy, Diego Jr., who waited years to be accepted by his father. And today, the bloodline even continues through Maradona's grandson, Benjamin Agüero Maradona, the son of Sergio Agüero and Janina Maradona, who has already taken his first steps in youth football. George Weah and Timothy Weah. George Weah is the only African player ever to win the Ballon d'Or, a true icon of the game. But his story did not end when football ended. He did something almost no footballer has ever done. He ran for president of Liberia, and he won. From Ballon d'Or winner to head of state, George Weah became one of the most unique figures football has ever seen. Today, his son Timothy carries the family name forward on the pitch. Different generation, different country, same famous bloodline. Johan Cruyff and Jordi Cruyff. Johan Cruyff did not just play football, he changed it forever. His ideas shaped Barcelona, inspired modern attacking football, and influenced generations of players and coaches. His son Jordi inherited one of the most powerful surnames in the sport. And with that came impossible pressure. Still, he played for Barcelona and Manchester United, carrying the Cruyff name into a new era. Cesare, Paolo, and Daniel Maldini. And finally, maybe the greatest football bloodline of them all, the Maldinis. Cesare Maldini lifted the European Cup as captain of AC Milan. His son Paolo became, for many, the greatest defender who ever lived. 25 years, one club, one city, one shirt, and then came Daniel, the third generation to rise through the legendary Milan Academy and become a professional footballer. 3 generations, one academy, one immortal name. From Maradona's magic to George Weah becoming president to the Maldini dynasty in Milan, these families prove one thing. Football really does run in the blood, so which father and son shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments and subscribe for more legendary football stories.